Zombies Chronicles is one of the best-selling DLCs of a video game ever, and that is remarkable considering that it's made up of maps that were almost a decade old by that point, and that just shows not only how revered these maps were for their legacy, but how impactful they were for the more modern Zombies audience as well, and it was truly a miracle. For so many of us, it created the best moments in our video gaming history, and the man responsible has a new studio called Magic Fractal, which I've been following pretty closely, and I actually sat down with him to talk more about not only his new project, but Zombies Chronicles, an absolute masterpiece of gaming media, and I hope you guys enjoy our talk.
After all that, you're live. Go ahead, let's get into this.
Okay.
There we go.
We were, before the cameras were rolling, we were looking at this menu here, and you were like,
Yep.
Yeah, I haven't seen this in a while.
It's been a while. It's been a moment.
And the campfire, everyone knows it. I was literally asking, I was like, so what was before?
Yeah, I think it was just a static screen. I think we just had a screen up there for the longest time. Because it's its own level, right? So all the kind of campaign front end, then what we do in MP, and then zombies is all one level that's kind of loaded. And we're moving the camera between the different kind of 3D sets for the front end.
And you guys used like that forest in like the music videos you did.
Yep.
And so on. There was a few of the character specific ones that would take place in that forest, and it became such like a, I don't know, just like an enigmatic part of like, where is this? You know?
Yep.
And does this have any relation to like the frozen forest, or is this just its own little thing?
Well, thematically, yes.
Okay.
Yes. So that was the through line, the connection, but
Wow.
not in a overt story way, but thematically, yeah.
Wow. I mean, that's something. I just think the menu's iconic. Like, all the menus to me in each zombie game are special for a different reason.
And that made it difficult. After we did the first one, it made it a bit difficult because then there was this expectation for, well, you're the guys who make the the iconic industry-defining front ends. You're like, oh crap, we're gonna do it again, and we're gonna do it again. You're trying to, it's like if you try and do just a game of escalation, you'll run out of road, right?
Mm-hmm.
So each time we were looking at it and saying, okay, what is this menu system doing? What are we trying to do? So this one, it's interesting. If we were talking about the feelings, it was vibe. It was before vibe. It was how do we feel a certain way? And I was thinking specifically actually about the early Resident Evil games, right? The feeling that you get when you go in to save your game, and it's the fact that the music changes and it feels like it's a different tone, right, from the chaos of outside. The idea being that seeing the kind of character sitting by the fire with the threat only just behind him, but this feeling of a reprieve. I was like, well, that's the kind of feeling you want just before you start a zombie match.
I think some of the best video games before would take a lot of advantage of like, because usually, the modern luxury we have just to save our game at any point, that was like, saves were built into the experience of games, and a lot of times it's like, saving your game was like, oh, that's a moment where it's like, oh, that feels so good.
Yep.
And that's kind of like, I think the Black Ops 1 zombies menu was just like unsettling from the start, and it gets you in that feeling right away. Black Ops 2 was very adventurous, maybe in a way. Like just the fact it felt you're like globe trotting, and you can go to all these different areas, and it's still like feels like haunting a little bit, but it still feels a little adventurous. And then this game is like, I just think it's that menu music and that look is baked into all of our brains.
Yeah.
Every single one of us. Like
Vouch. I can vouch.
Yeah, I think the second one was probably the one that we tried for, and I was not really happy with. Because we, after the first one, we were like, well, what are we gonna do on the second one? I felt like we played a little bit safe actually on the second one.
You really? What do you think you would have done differently? Like
if I'd worked that out, I would have done it. I wasn't happy with where we ended up. On some level, I gave up on that one. I was like, I didn't want to try something. I didn't want to just try hard just to put something in and go, look, I did something. So it kind of it got to a kind of comfortable place, but
it's not the thing that you.
Yeah, I was happy with 3 and happy with 1.
Okay, yeah.
2, I was like,
No, that's fair.
We could have gone further.
Yeah, I mean, other than just the feeling of this menu that we're all so familiar with, is that I really appreciate the simplicity of it. And again, that's something that I feel it's been lost a little bit. Just like I can literally, from the menu, I can click one and then click one more time and I'm in a map.
We always talked about that. We talk about the number of times you press a button. And I'll give credit where credit's due. That primarily came from MP. MP has an absolute obsession with how many times you press a button before you're in a match. For campaign and for zombies, we hadn't really taken it that seriously before, but as the mode was getting more and more complex, I was like, you know what, we need to use that as a North Star. Like, hey, how many times before I get in? Especially as we're adding like Dr. Monty on, we had concepts of the Newton's cookbook coming. And we're like, this is going to get tricky. And we got, weapon kits. It's like, we need to start thinking a bit more MP-like, because we could be going through menu system after menu system. And because it's not been in the forefront of our mind because of campaign and zombies, like we could accidentally fall into the hole that the MP guys learned 10 years ago. So I paid attention to that and was like, okay, we need to talk about number of clicks before you get into the game.
That is smart. Yeah, it's like, I don't feel like every game has managed to avoid that trap, but I always think of BO3 as just, I click twice and I'm in whatever map I want to play. And the intention is still there. I can very easily get to the experience that I want, where sometimes, even just in other games, it's like the menus are so built out that like getting to the experience that I intend on finding is kind of hard.
Yeah. UI and UX is hard on every single project. It's the thing where actually everyone says, oh, that should be easy, and it's actually the thing that dictates the player's experience in so many different ways, and it's almost the last thing that we consider, and it's the hardest thing to do. And there's just never enough UI UX time, because you're so focused on making the game, making the features, making the functionality, and you use the UI just for a developmental reason for most of it, and then you suddenly get to the point and say, oh, we've got to make this for
make this look cool.
We've got to make this cool, and we've got to make it for a gamer, and it's got to be intuitive. And so UI is always the department that's on your lips at the end. It's like,
it's so fun that because the game launched, and this is kind of what the menu looked like. We had our gobble gum, we had our weapon kits and whatnot. The thing that we didn't have until later, this didn't come until a few months down the road, was this Newton's cookbook here. I'm curious to learn a little bit about that, and was that a thing that you had always wanted to do?
So we knew we were going into the world of an economy again. MP was more familiar with it. We hadn't done so much of it. And as soon as you start talking about economy, and you start talking about, okay, we got liquid diviniums now, and okay, we got a secondary currency, and there may be a financial motivation behind it as well, real money. We start taking it seriously at that point. So we always knew there was going to have to be something that could collect. If you've been building something up, what are we going to do? We can't just have these stockpiles of stuff. So the concept was there from the beginning. The actual realization of it, not so much. The concept of it being Newton's cookbook, yes, very early on.
Okay.
But the realization of it, later.
Interesting. And then the other thing I wanted to get to was weapon kits real quick, is that I wanted to point out, I think weapon kits are my favorite system of I call it out of game progression, or people call it meta progression, whatever. The thing that I personally find enjoyable is that when there's a very minimal out of game system, right. Because I think that I just personally really enjoy the games that kind of feel like a blank canvas, and each run or each game can go very differently, just depending on how I interact with the game, not because I leveled up something out of the menu or whatever. And not that a little bit of that isn't important, but this is where I think the sweet spot was. Where
there was a big discussion about this, which is how much you could cheat and then also skew and then mess up the mid engagement player. You're not going to screw up the guy who's just got it.
Yeah.
But you could inadvertently, if you break your flow at the mid to late stage. If we made those guns so powerful that once you've got it and you've unlocked it, suddenly the gameplay is changing, we're in a world of trouble. Because we can barely test and kind of get the stuff that we need to get down tested and make sure it's solid. This was, okay, we need to, going back to the previous point, we need to put limits on this straight away. Obviously, MP had developed the system, so MP had their weapons system. And because we were kind of tight on time, it's like, well, we'll take that, put that in. But then you've got to then say, okay, but we can't do what MP does. And we can't do a system which you think, oh, well, if you upgrade this weapon, it suddenly becomes powerful. It's like, we can't really do that in the same way, because then we're betraying the kind of the spirit and the guiding principle of the zombie mode we're making. But we want to have people have fun and be able to kind of customize and have some sort of So you're always now trading off. Am I giving you something under false pretenses? Do you think, oh, I've suddenly unlocked this Uzi, but actually I'm giving you nothing? It's like I've got to give you something, but not too much. And that was the delicate balance to walk.
Yeah, to me, this game I feel found the most correct balance. Like the attachments are meaningful enough that they genuinely feel like your gun. Oh, this gun feels better, but it's not gonna like fundamentally change how you play. It's not gonna make you so powerful that you're approaching the game differently.
Yep.
And it gives you, just the fun of customizing a gun is fun.
And Gobblegums was the risk that we wanted to take. We basically said we're taking that risk.
So
let's not do it for guns.
We're kind of a late addition, right? if I recall correctly.
I mean, I remember the pitch. I remember the pitch where I was pitching to Activision Gobblegums and MP was pitching all their season kind of outfits and everything. And we had to pitch them at the same time.
Whoa.
Which is like, what is the strategy for MTX and other things in the system?
It's so funny that just maybe, an idea or whatever like that became so iconic. It became such an important piece of the...
I'll tell this story because it's quite funny. So for MP, and again, for MP, it's their world, right? The whole world is based on customization of weapons, customization of their outfits. It was kind of less important to zombies and campaign even less so. So I get told that we have to present our MTX systems to Activision. And I'm like, okay, wow. I turn up there. MP's got a full-on deck and presentation. It's got flashing lights. Dancing girls came out. Smoke was released, right? And I walked in and I just had a piece of paper. I said, we're going to have gumballs that give you powers. Thank you. I got a round of applause, and I just walked back. Everyone's expectations for zombies and for any kind of MTX was so low, and I made it even lower that they just let me just walk out of the room.
Do you think that kind of worked in your favor?
Yeah,
because you were just like, it's just like a candy. It's just a thing, and people are like, all right.
Yeah,
and then it comes out. And it's like, oh, this is sick.
Yeah, it worked out quite well. Yeah. But the idea
cool.
was it was always going to be fractional, right?
Yeah.
Because there was a money aspect to it, right? So it's like, we never want to fleece people, and we never want to feel like you're being robbed in any way. And there's obviously that delicate balance there, and it was very sensitive at times, still is very sensitive. And so we said, okay, but this is the system that we're going to take a risk on, right? That's why guns were like, no. We can't take two massive risks at the same time. If we made those guns, it would have fundamentally broke the design. But if we'd gone too far on the guns, and then there's Gobblegums that we think we know how it's going to be played, but we can't test all of it because the combinations there's so many of them. So we're like, okay, we're making the gamble on this one.
Can I tell you something,
and
Jason?
not on those ones. Yes, please.
I mean this with the utmost respect. I think the fact that you didn't really know how the Gobblegums were going to work out was the best thing that could have happened. Like, certain Gobblegum combinations do kind of expose the shaky parts of BO3's engine and stuff.
Absolutely.
But that is kind of why they work.
Right.
I mean, Pizza built like a whole career off of one Gobblegum that breaks the game into silly things.
Yeah.
And what I realize is that like the reason that the Gobblegum are appealing, in my opinion, is that even if you're not technically with a lot of them, it feels like you're breaking the game, and then sometimes you literally are.
Sure.
And that's fun.
Yes.
And whether it's just simulated or it's actually breaking, it's like that was what worked. Is like, because you guys hadn't ironed it out so much where you have all these like predictable effects and you just know how each iteration is going to play out. That worked because we're experimenting and finding cool things, and that was such the charm of it.
Oh, good. We had conversations about what to patch and what not to patch, because there was a bunch of things that we saw and we're like,
did you guys watch a Codename Pizza video every Monday and be like, all right, get on that?
It wasn't a staple, but yeah, I think we saw a couple of them. But yeah, it was always the question of like what to touch, what not to touch. But we kind of knew that we were embracing a certain kind of unpredictability by not being able to test everything.
I love that.
And we called it Gobblegums so that you guys would have a hard time saying it. Which is why
Is that why you named
that's why
every map a different language?
Yeah. I just thought these guys are all going to have to say it. And
Gobblegum.
exactly.
Yeah.
I remember sitting in someone's office and saying, let's call it Gobblegum because they're going to have trouble saying that.
Pop it in. See what happens.
But it also fits in. Yeah, I felt because we'd obviously done the kind of 1930s, 1940s kind of soda jerk Americano thing for the perks, right? There's that.
Yeah.
And I was like, when we came to the next thing, it was like, well, what's that Americano kind of 1930s kind of oldie woldy? What else is synonymous with that? It's almost like an idealistic part of American history. A certain kind of we have a vibe when we think about that period of time in America. And it was like, well, it's gobblegum. Right, it's the gum. Right? It's the kid with the soda jerk. It's the gum. It's all in that kind of Americano thing. Right?
Was that kind of time period? It was kind of like Shadows of Evil a little bit. Is like was Gobblegum and its name and its like idea, was that kind of on the back of Shadows of Evil and like the stuff that you guys?
No, it's on the back.
Completely independent.
No, it's on the back of the perk machines.
Oh,
like that's soda jerks, right? So that
yeah.
style is all like 1930s style, right? The soda pop, popping it off, top the cap off. So that's what I was following. I was following.
Gotcha.
It was a very American thing, and that time period, and the style in which we did the bottles, the style in which we did the machines, is kind of reminiscent of that era. And so we thought, well, Gobblegum, which is the same way that, like, why did we do the machine that way? Well, again, that's another traditional way of doing it in the 1930s, right? I have fond memories being a kid. You turn the thing, you put your 10 pence coin in, turn it, right? And then, you get your jawbreaker out. That was, wanted to kind of thematically or time-wise kind of connect it to the perks, right? Because I was also aware that, Gobblegum was the silent killer of perks, unfortunately.
Yeah, I was actually going to say that.
And we knew that from the beginning, which was, and by the way, that was some of the motivation for it. So one of the hardest things to do was every time we had to make a perk machine, it was dedicated artists for a dedicated amount of time. It was one of the most expensive things that we could do, was to make a perk machine. And so as time gets tight, and we got to make the perk jingle, we got to do the art, we got to work it out. As soon as we did Gobblegums, we're like, well, this is going to replace that. But we can't because it's so synonymous with the community and we really can't. But how do we then draw a line? How do we say this is what perks do and this is what Gobblegums do? And very quickly you find that these lines start touching.
Yep.
And so that was a concern.
I was going to bring that up because the only, unless I'm forgetting one, the only I guess truly new perk that BO3 ever got was Widow's Wine.
Yep.
And I think we all know that a lot of effects that could have been applied to the player got recontextualized into Gobblegum.
Yep.
So were there any perks that you guys were thinking about that? Yes. Are you gonna do you have any?
No.
No,
but not
ammo-matic.
we had tons. We had a whole. A lot of those selections turned into Gobblegums because we'd have them down. And we say, okay, we want to do these things, but then this is the boring part. The schedule would be like, no, because we're using those artists to do this thing and that thing and the other thing. Mm-hmm. And then they'd say to me, what's more important? I'm like, you got to do the stuff you're doing.
I mean. Widow's Wine.
So I've got to wear two hats, you see. I've got to be the campaign guy and I've got to be the zombie guy. And so all the zombie guys come and go, Jay, come on. We're your favorite, come on. And I've got to be like, no.
Come through, man.
Come on, like, Jay, zombies, we never get the love. I'm like, yeah, you do. What are you talking about? I'd have to, the other problem is that campaigns, I've said this before, campaigns are a black hole for time and resource. Like, if you give me 20 more guys, I can spend them on a campaign easily. Mm-hmm. You give me, anything, I can spend it on a campaign instantly. And so it's a forever hungry project that will consume anything that you put near it.
This video is sponsored by War Thunder. If you've not played the most immersive and exciting vehicle combat game ever made, I think you're missing out. War Thunder has an unbelievable amount of vehicles to pilot, over 2,500 tanks, helicopters, and jets from all kinds of nations and time periods. The combat is exhilarating, and the attention to detail on the vehicles, as well as the sound and visual effects, are true to the real war machines that they are. The community is also massive, with over 95 million players worldwide, with a strong affinity for PvP and military history at its forefront. Check out War Thunder on all of these platforms and the one of your choice, including mobile. Not to mention, there are rewards for both new and returning players for PC and console players right now using the links in the description down below. So go check it out, don't waste any time, and thank you so much to War Thunder for sponsoring today's video.
Well, you had brought up a couple of zombie maps that I was curious about.
Sure.
Well, I guess I should probably preface this by saying that, like, obviously we could be here for 18 hours talking about just these maps alone. I mean, I have so much that I want to dive into with that. But I think the thing that you are very synonymous with is the thing that came after. And I mean, this guy knows a little bit about it too, but I mean, like, you talk about like BO3 itself being a miracle. I think Chronicles is also a miracle too.
Sure, it absolutely is.
And it's one of my like favorite pieces of like gaming media there is. And that's for a lot of reasons we can get into. But I wanted to ask you, like, what was your process on, like, number one, picking which maps to put in, and also, like, I kind of have some questions on the ones that didn't make it in.
Sure.
Like, obviously you got to do the World at War maps because, and even if I remember correctly, like, you guys were going to do that in Black Ops 2. Like, I think there's some like dev kit that came out recently that had like the World at War maps. I think that were planned for BO2.
We had, we talked about this before. I think that some leak came out and they found the files as well. But we had an extra map pack that we were planning, and I think we've mentioned before that those maps ultimately turned into the basis of Black Ops 1 zombie maps. Because I was doing, what was the release? Is that DLC 2? 3. Yeah. So I was doing 3 and I was doing 4. But then 4 got kind of shelved, and 4 turned into, Call of the Dead and Moon and Theater and all that stuff, right? That's where that stuff went.
So Call of the Dead, like, conceptually was being planned for World at War?
It's not Call of the Dead at that point in time.
Just like that idea.
An environment of a nice place with a lighthouse.
Yeah.
Kind of the concept, yeah.
Okay, because I think a lot of people are, they kind of know that, like, oh, like Keynote or Toten, the theater, supposed to be on World at War. I think a lot of people accept that. And obviously, like, the iterations that we see of Call of the Dead or whatever now is like, that was kind of more tailored for BO1.
And by the way, it's like, I had no connection to what it ultimately became.
Right? Yeah.
What you're doing is, you're working with a build team, you're starting to kind of play with a map and build something, and then it's like, move on to something else. And like, okay, this goes off, and then you go and do something else. So when I say it forms the foundation, it's just some work had been done, right?
Yeah. Okay.
It still goes over, and then its whole personality and identity is then made. I'm just saying we were on the beginning paths of blocking out and saying, okay, and then that shape. Again, something Treyarch was fantastic at, and still is, I'm sure, is that just, don't let things die, bring them back in a different way. Right? And so it was very normal for us to, okay, put this down, we're going to go over there and deal with that. And then it turns up and somebody else is using it over there. You're like, great, that's awesome.
Well, I mean, like the scraps that all this came from is the original, World at War maps. And it's obviously kind of interesting now that I look at it, and like the Giant was the Doris remake, and that was kind of like part of like BO3's like main offering. That wasn't in the Chronicles pack.
Yeah, that was purely because we were in a bit of time trouble.
Sure.
So by the time we kind of came around to do the campaign, we only had, again, a limited amount of time left, and I had a full team turn into me and saying, well, what do you want us to do? And I was like, well, Craig and I need to sit down and work out what the story is. We hadn't even worked out anything yet.
Sure.
So we're like, make Doris.
Just do Doris.
Just do Doris. Like, show me. Because the problem is that...
and also that was like your map too.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
that's like...
So it's an easy thing. So I know what's good.
Yeah.
Because if I asked them to do it, I need to bring all my attention with Craig and with other kind of leaders and directors to work out the shape and the focus of the systems. If I'd done any other map, I would have to always be going, is that right? Is that right? But because it was Doris, I could go, well, I know what's right.
Yeah.
So, but it allowed the team also then to keep everything kind of going, because a team will atrophy in terms of skill, in terms of their energy. If you sit, anyone will. It kind of creaks down to a stop, right? Just keeping the machine moving is the important part, right? The point of on Doris was like, just keep everyone going. Like almost if they hadn't produced anything, it wouldn't have mattered. I was just keeping everyone moving, handing stuff off, talking, keeping going, while I then spend time talking about what the structure, what we can do, and the systems, and all that kind of stuff. And then by the time I could bring the folks back around, like right now I can put all these other things in, and now we can do all this other shaping. Like if you're doing a campaign, for example, I'd see a level once every 2 weeks.
Whoa.
And that's not because that's literally me seeing levels every single day. But based on the timing and the number of meetings, the next time I'm going to see
the next time you see that one is going to be 2 weeks later.
And that's every day I'm doing from I'll give you an idea. From the moment I walk in, a producer would normally intercept me and then let me go and put my coat down or whatever. And then I'm going to the first meeting, the second meeting, the third meeting. I've then got to come back. And now I've got to work on the deck for the level that has to be ready in 3 weeks' time for the next team to kind of get ready, right? So then I've got to spend 3 hours on the deck and make sure that's good. And then I've got my next set of meetings, done. And then I'm going to see them again in 2 weeks' time. Because next day I'm going to do the next one. Because once you then lay out all the 11 maps, plus all the zombie maps, that's regardless of then mechanics and other art direction, other things.
Yeah.
You're seeing them once every 2 weeks for the next set of notes. Now, in that meantime, the producer and other kind of leads and directors are also kind of guiding it, right? But just so anyone, if anyone's under the impression that I'm just sitting there, no, I get to see them once every 2 weeks. Now, obviously, I'm talking about them and planning them, and my job is to be higher up so that I can then go, oh, this is where we're going as a ship, right? This is where we're heading.
Yeah.
And then my job is then to be, instilling into my leads and my producers and other kind of creative individuals what I want to get out of it, and then I get these moments where I get to steer it and correct it and shape it.
That sparked a thought, because something I've always wanted to ask you about was your perspective on before we get to Chronicles, a little bit of BO2, because the thing, like obviously BO2, there were some things to deal with in terms of like the structure, but
sure.
I think what was ultimately kind of interesting about that game is just how different every map ended up being because of that. Like BO2 has something to offer for everyone, even if they don't like all the maps the same way. There's something there for everyone, and I think that a lot of people to connect with that, like playing Mob or playing Origins is like literally playing a different video game compared to like Transit, for example. It's and it's crazy to me how like design-wise you are using the same bones as the other maps in the game, but you're able to make a completely different video game as far as I'm concerned.
It's the Lego idea, right?
Yeah.
You should be able to put a bunch of Lego and go, build a house, build a jet fighter, build a killer robot, right? Yeah. I saw the opportunities for zombies being never ending. The most restrictive thing in a weird way was the story, which is I have to be, respectful of the story before me. I have to be respectful of the story I'm telling. But at some point, you're basically carrying so much weight. But in terms of mechanics and the worlds and all the other stuff, I was like, there's no end to this. You could just keep going. That's the kind of test we give designers, right? Here's 3 words. Here's a problem. Tell me an interesting thing. Now do it again. Now do it again. Now do it again. You should be able to keep on doing it forever and go through and basically how, in the same way your muscles in gym, right? How warm are you to that? You have that in terms of creativity, right? Which is how warm can you? It's almost like a stand-up comedian or an improv guy. You should be able to.
That's why you probably want to keep everyone moving too. Is that it keeps that part of them.
Because
going
once
as well.
it slows down, you then got to get it going again, and it can take months to get a team moving.
You know what I should say? Nobody thought this was even going to happen, which I think is hilarious.
Yep.
Is like, this was, you know, I remember being at the Revelations event, the thing that we in LA, where we were on this little room, and you know, we got to watch the trailer and stuff, and that felt like it. There was like, all right, this is where it all ends.
Yep.
And you know, that I think a lot of us were. I don't know if I would say the word okay with that, but it was like, we're here for it. And then all of a sudden, one day, this guy that you can't see, you show up at his house and you confirm what people were hoping, suspecting, whatever. Is like, the fact that it exists at all is like, it's hard to even like wrap my head around even now.
My experience of zombies has been repeatedly being told by the community, no, you haven't done that. And then we do it, and they go, okay, well, that time you did. And then we do it again, and again, and again. It turns out it doesn't matter how many times we prove that we can still surprise. They're still surprised when we do. Yeah.
I mean, it came as a shock to everyone, and like that, just the reveal again is like one of those like cornerstone moments that.
Well, when you were there at Revelations, it was still going on just now. See how it's saying.
I was actually, I was wondering about that. I was like, how soon did you like have ideas to do this? Like, when did it become something that?
I want to say that it was Gorod Crovey that we started going there because I was at COD XP and I knew there, and that's when I made that kind of comment. I was trying to help. I was because all the YouTubers were there. I was trying to say like, hey, there's more stuff coming.
Yeah.
But I obviously couldn't say that. So I made some comment, and they were like, Jason said that Revelations would last 6 months, and we've completed it in 2 seconds. But that was my motivation, which was that I had Chronicles in my back pocket.
I think the thing that's like interesting to me about BO3 Chronicles is how different it is to World at War Chronicles. I mean, so like the BO1 version of Noct is like pretty similar to the original. It's just honestly like a weapon change. Oh, and then you guys did put Mule Kick in that one eventually. When Mule Kick came out, there was one perk in Nocturne Toner, which I think is so funny. And there's no jug to like protect it, so it's pretty easy to die still. It's like, do you really have it? But and then BO3 comes out, and y'all take a very different like approach to this one. I'm curious, like, what you thought, like, going into this one, of how, I don't know, like, faithful you should be to the original, because...
So we wanted to be as faithful as we could possibly be to the original canon-wise and world-wise. But we wanted to kind of go further on our presentation. We wanted to go further on our kind of what we saw as qualitative experience or qualitative steps.
But I don't have any perks, and we're, you know...
Yes. That's where you need a Wonder Fizz.
Yeah. So like that I just remember that being the biggest like talking point and big like change that you made fundamentally to this map compared to the original, or even the Black Ops 1 version, is the Wonder Fizz.
Yes. So Wonder Fizz, I think we introduced in Origins.
Yes.
I
assume that was your idea.
I think it was. I always have to be careful taking credit for these things, because very rarely is it just somebody's singular idea.
Sure.
And devs in general, we don't like to claim that, because it's the conversation you just had, or the chat you just had, or so I don't really class anything as being my idea.
Fair enough.
It's, you know, lots of creative people all talking at the same time. But the Wonder Fizz was, you could look at Wonder Fizz as being my halfway step before Gobblegums, because I was like, what's cost the most was not the bottles, it's the machines. And so we were like, oh, well, let's make one machine that makes all the bottles. And so that was like, well, that's the way. We only have to ask the art department for one machine. Was the concept. And then by the time we came around to Chronicles, it was like, well, that makes total sense. Then we can give players a whole world of possibility they hadn't seen before, which is perks that may not be necessarily on the map. Now, I know there's certain fans who are, I like this map because these perks are on it and not these other perks, and I like that map because of this. And I respect that opinion. I also don't sign up for that, which is why I was like, okay, the Wonder Fizz means that you can now find different experiences on the map based on what comes out.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think a lot of people like that enjoy the original. Their argument would be like, they would say that the point of Nocturne Tone was that there were no perks, and that like there was this just looming sense of vulnerability at all times.
Yeah.
You never felt, there was never a comfortability where it's like when the Wonder Fist comes in, it's like, oh, I got my Juggernog, I got Quick Revive, I got Widows.
Agreed.
You know, you feel a lot more comfortable.
I'd often, but I felt that Nact as an experience had, however solid it was also going to get looked over.
Yeah.
And so I felt like that if you gave Nact and then put a Wonder Fizz in, then suddenly there's a different type of experience you can have that you've never had before. And it's, you can have more with obviously the different perk.
I guess you could say the same about Gobblegum too, because the thing that all of the World at War maps besides Doris didn't have was Pack-a-Punch.
Right.
But like using Gobblegum, like like Crate Power or a Wall Power, you can get upgraded Pack-a-Punched guns in these maps, but there's no like traditional way to upgrade your gun like without the Gobblegum in here.
Right.
Did you guys ever like consider putting an actual Pack-a-Punch machine in these maps, or was that taking it too far of like bending the?
No, we I don't think we ever actually even talked about that. I don't even think that was an idea, because to put it in would be like, I think you can make an argument for a Wonder Fizz machine going in there, because it's a perk machine, and I wouldn't have a reaction if someone had said, "Oh, it makes total sense for, whatever perk to be in this map." And so I was okay with the Wonder Fizz machine. I think if you talk about the Pack-a-Punch, it's such a different. It asks a different kind of mechanic and a different flow. Where you place it and what you do about it suddenly changes how you'd even think of the map.
But you guys were still like cognizant of the fact that like you could use Gobblegum to get weapons that were Pack-a-Punched in there. Yeah,
exactly.
Okay.
And that's the other thing as well. It was a round end. But the Pack-a-Punch, and
there
again,
it
this,
is.
the Pack-a-Punch, and maybe this is some baggage that I'm just carrying in my head. The Pack-a-Punch's position was the story of the map.
Interesting. Well,
so like if you look at Doris, like where it is the story of the map. It's what you're going to do. If you look at Mob of the Dead, it's the story of the map. It's what you're going to do. And so, why wouldn't I come back and put Pack-a-Punch in these other maps? Because we're being faithful to the original story, that wasn't my story to tell. To stick a Pack-a-Punch in my opinion, would be to me to tell a story on top of this.
I think that's such an important part of like a map is where, obviously Pack-a-Punch is like the big one, but I even thought I felt that way about perks and their locations.
So I was less sensitive about that. Just to be honest.
No, sure.
I know people are very passionate about that. I didn't feel as passionate about that aspect. If we were our distribution of our perk machines across the map and the flow around the map was a concern to me, but I knew that, from a game player's point of view, you say, wow, it's really important that Jug is there and this thing's there and that's there. For me, it was more when I'm watching it being played, have people worked out an optimal place where they don't need to travel around the map anymore? They can just sit there and just like loop it.
I always thought like in some of the older maps, like I always felt that Juggernog specifically was placed in a spot where it required you to open a door that would otherwise be a pretty good like holdout location.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, you want to actually survive and have the Juggernog, you have to give up this spot. We had maps where we talked about, and I don't want to speak for Jimmy because he would actually be able to speak far better about this than I would, but we had maps where we talk about the map being actively acting against you. Like all the BO1 maps were all about their hazards.
Yeah, it's like, and Jimmy absolutely, I think embodied that kind of spirit. A wall. Let's imagine the example I would give is, a doorway is a set width in Call of Duty, right? There's a certain width of it. There are certain maps in Zombies where we will do the regular Call of Duty door and then make it half a meter tighter. And what happens is that you can't perceive it, and when you run, you'll move like you expect it to be the right width, and it'll just catch you. And when it just catches you, that's when you get got. And whose fault's that? Yours, right? But who made it? Who made you make that mistake? That was us. But the goal was that the game would just slightly be actually trying to kill you, right? Rather than just the zombies, that the design of it.
That the actual map itself was kind of working against you?
Yes, yeah.
Huh.
And we toyed with that on different maps at different times. I wasn't huge into that, but there was a couple of moments where we did a couple of things just to try it.
Did you guys do that on Mob? Like, because
Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
I went to Alcatraz a couple years ago, and obviously, like, I was, having my moment. Like, I knew where everything was before I even got there.
Sure.
And I do feel like now looking back at it, I'm like, yeah, the doors in Mob the Dead feel really like claustrophobic and small. And like, I don't know if that was just a design of trying to capture the authenticity of Alcatraz or whatever, or if that was like, yeah, we kind of want the map to be a little more oppressive this time. Like,
yeah, I mean, Mob, and there's a whole art director conversation, but how to kind of make you feel claustrophobic while not actually making claustrophobic spaces, because claustrophobic spaces are only fun at certain times, but feeling claustrophobic is fun all the time. So that was a challenge, and there were primarily art tasks and to do with lighting to make you feel a certain way. The ideas we were playing around with on Doris, right, using of red light and kind of dark shadows to make something feel tighter. If you look at Mob, we do that quite a bit.
you do that a lot. Yeah.
Because it just, if you drop it down to shadows and then have like a kind of a redder light, it just feels like you're being squeezed a little bit. And we wanted that.
Something I love about Mob of the Dead is that, like, again, from my understanding, the original plan for Mob of the Dead was going to be a lot bigger.
Yeah,
it was like the whole island,
It's
basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was, I assume, kind of just probably like a console restraint, that like a hardware thing that was.
I think it was both. I think it was there was a console, constraint. There was a time constraint. There was a resource constraint. It was everything. It's like Origins. On the other side of the church. There was a whole French village that we built.
Yeah.
That had to go, and again, it was resource, time, focus.
Well, that's the thing, is like the thing I like about Mob is that despite the fact that you had to cut all these cool areas out that eventually did make their way back in another map. Yeah. But I think you really like trimmed the fat off of those maps, and the thing that you came out with is like a really lean, like well working.
I think that's why there's a good argument to say why Mob is seen in a more favorable light than Blood, is that Mob got to be a distilled experience. While Blood, it was having to lift the reputation of the previous one while also doing more. It was kind of an uphill battle for that map. And you have these maps where you set yourself a goal, and then you've got to, like I said before, you've got to deal with these restrictions. Sometimes the restriction beats you, right? Those moments happen, right? There's parts in maps that I'll talk to you about that you might go, that's fine, and I'll go, you know what? We spent months trying to fix that thing, and we never fixed it. Again, when people notice it, you got us, right? There's often times where the community says that's fine, and the developers are all like, oh god, oof, we had to ship with that thing.
Wow. I mean, but I would, not speaking for everyone, but most of the community, I think that like Mob is a better map because of the leanness you gave it and everything. And I think, some of the best maps like kind of have that.
Well, shout out to Kevin Worrell, the lead builder, who was there's this question of, and it always is, of authenticity, geo-authenticity, and then what the game needs. And it's one is not necessarily the other. There's the geo, which is what your eye tells you is that's reasonable and that's okay, and then there's the physicality as a gamer of what you need. Those two things don't always line up.
The first thing that came to mind, you said that, and maybe we can get into it, maybe not, is Voyage of Despair on BO4.
Sure.
Is like, because that is that map that is like, you can just feel the geo authenticity. It's like, that is the intention there.
Yeah.
And I wonder how much that got in the way of like
all the time.
Oh, but is this good gameplay?
Yeah.
And I'm sure that was
No,
a crossroads all the time.
All the time. And again,
crossroads all the time.
All the time. And again, it's the ones that it's the dragons you can't vanquish, right? That stays with you forever. Voyage had, we obviously wanted to be faithful to Titanic. We wanted to make sure we'd do as good a job as we could do, but also recognizing that the way that a ship is built is completely against what we need from a zombie game, and that we're like, we'll solve it down the line. And we're gonna have to knock through another wall. Okay, we're gonna have to knock through another space, right? Because we can turn it into whatever space we want, but
the more hammers you take to it, the less ship it becomes.
And so, I don't know if we ever fully cracked that nut. But I was really happy with the thematics of it. I just wasn't happy with the flow of it. I gotta be honest.
I see. Yeah. That's fair.
Timing, as always, is everything.
I've always just personally wondered that because, I walk through that map now and it's beautiful. Like literally, it's gorgeous. One of the best looking maps ever.
It's so many assets, so many custom assets to make that thing.
Besides Shadows, it's my favorite map just to look at.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's again, phenomenal art department. Attention to detail. Like if you go and have a look, like the plates are the plates, the knives and forks are the knives and forks. Like it's quite disturbing how much research they did on that stuff. But we just struggle with the flow a bit. We just struggle with it. And you take on these maps that are, I suppose, every map that you might say is being, let's say, one of your favorites. Let's say you said, there's probably not a single one you could list as being your favorite that I wouldn't tell you was, we thought halfway through, oh no, this is not going to work. Right.
Even Doris. You said that you were scared of messing it up.
Yeah. Oh, that was just intimidation for the whole situation.
Sure.
And we put it together again from a kind of campaign background. I was like, this is empty. There's nothing in here. Like, what? They're not going to find this fun at all, right? Mm-hmm. I was really worried that we're going to ship this thing just like this empty room with 3 teleporters and this thing that they're going to kill us, right?
Did you feel that way remastering those World at War maps for Chronicles for the same reason? Was it like, oh my God, this might feel too different?
No, I was, as we're kind of looking through how they were remastering them, art department, I could call out all the departments, but art department, obviously, we're like, we can go a lot further. I'm like, excellent, okay. And then seeing how enthusiastic the sound department was, again, they were my North Star. They were the people I was trying to make happy in terms of zombies because they were so hardcore. Seeing them jazzed about being able to go back and do all the things that they wanted to do last time.
That's cool.
I think, when I look at Chronicles, I think it's not only is it a visual achievement, an atmosphere achievement, its audio landscape is, leaps and bounds forwards. And I think that just brings the whole package together, right? So,
it's where you get into some of the Black Ops 1 maps that things get kind of interesting. Mm-hmm. The first BO1 map that made it here is Kino.
Yep.
And that was, again, a map that was kind of for World at War, and then ended up in Black Ops 1. And so in BO3, it kind of feels less jarring than the previous maps a little bit because Pack-a-Punch is already there.
Right.
That's part of that story of the map that you say, right?
Yep.
And so then it's did you have any thoughts of how much you want to change or add to Kino versus these more basic simple maps?
Again, I'd say we were trying our best to not go crazy on it, not to actually change it. And that was 2 things. The first one was we were very aware that there was a good number of people who were coming into Black Ops 3 who hadn't played the previous ones. And so we were like, it'd be great to bring this out and to give them as rock solid an experience, next gen, if you will, of those early maps. So that was the goal. And then it was like, well, the team and I were talking about, well, we got this story to tell, we got this thing to do, we could do this thing. And I was of the opinion that like, no, let's try and keep it as close to the original as possible. Obviously with a set of caveats that I'm allowed to have, but
sure. Yeah.
But in general, because the team would always want to do more and more and add more things in. But I was like, no, let's be as faithful as we can. Give art the opportunity to kind of go further. Give sound the opportunity to go further. But let's try and script it as straight as we can. Apart from the sheet of paper that I need to do.
Sure.
Movie year on that sheet of paper in Shangri-La.
Is what, sorry?
Turning it from red to blue in Shangri-La, was that on your little paper?
There's lots of things on a piece of paper. That was a long time ago, Reed. I'm sure.
Oh, my memory's.
I'm sure I forgot mine.
As soon as I'm finally interested in something, it's like, I'll never do that one now. That one's going in the archive.
You got him.
Whatever, sorry.
One of the things I love about all the BO3 maps is that they all play very differently to me. So like, when I'm looking at the Chronicles maps, I think Kino, it has all of the perks that BO3 introduced, which were never there in the original game,
right.
and it does make it play fundamentally different.
Yep.
But then I also compare that to the Giant, and I really like the Giant specifically because that map. It doesn't have a few of the perks that the rest of the game has. Is there a reason for that? It's lacking a couple of perks that I'm like,
Yeah, I mean, I'm now going to change the topic. I will say this. I mean, the eagle-eyed people looking at the Giant and looking at Doris's, so that one I felt like I had a little bit more latitude with. Being one of my maps, I felt a little bit more like, I can take a little bit more of a twist on it. I also knew that it would be seen as being just Doris, right? So, or Dorisa, as I get told off by my German friends. What I'd hope is that the eagle-eyed people who look at the Giant, it feels different. It's got a different tone to it.
It absolutely does.
And that was very deliberate.
Okay. I mean, that makes a lot of sense. And just from the perspective of gameplay, whether it's intentional that way or not, like the Giant is one of the hardest maps in BO3 to like high round on.
Okay.
And that is for a lot of reasons. The missing perks is one of them, but also there's no zombie shield, which is I'm sure probably intentional to and I think that makes it play. I talk about like maps feeling like different games.
Yes.
I would make that argument for like Revelations,
right,
and the Giant. Like they're nothing the same.
We absolutely wanted it. I mean, we called our shot. I mean, for Black Ops 3, we called our shot of all the maps right at the beginning, right? So the scraps of paper in the Giant, tell you the locations of where we're going to go, right? The thing that was motivating me was, yes, how do we make each map a different twist, right? Knowing full well that we're going to annoy a certain percentage of the zombie community, which is dangerous.
The zombies community being annoyed? No way.
Well, there was always a force, and I've mentioned this in previous interviews as well. There was always a force that basically said, "We like this, Jason. Just make this." Like whether the zombie community recognized it or not, they were repeatedly saying, "Just make this over and over again, please." And I refused to do it.
I love that. I actually love that.
If I listen to, because I have people go off and do the internet stuff and research and would bring me these reports each week to tell me what's kind of going on. Well, not because I didn't want to be so connected watching videos or reading articles, but I want to see where are we in the world. Whether they realized it or not, the statements were, "Can you just do the same thing?" To which my answer is no, right? And the more I heard it be consistent, the more I was like, okay, each one of these needs to be...
The more you're going to push.
Yeah, each one needs to be now a twist, and some of these twists won't work. And some of these twists will be hated by the community. But hopefully they might warm up to it later. And sometimes we're just going to miss. And that was that risk, that danger, that risk-taking that we're talking about, which is we knew what the formula is that would make the zombie community happy every single time. but then we would never find new things, and we'd never find true new experiences if we just made the same thing over and over and over again. And I knew that the second that we started doing that, we'd never get off. Like, for example, the second that Horizon, is looking a certain way, I knew full well that we could just carbon copy this 4 times and go, there you go, they'll be happy.
But you didn't want to do that.
And if I ever admitted that to the team, we'd be in trouble. Right?
You could have made our lives so much easier.
I think I would have made your lives so much more shallow. You would have just complained and said to me, and rightly so, something's missing. It's not as fun as it used to be. Your job, you being the community, your job would not be to be able to articulate exactly what it is. And I'd be sitting there going, I know, it's because steak and eggs taste really good, but on the 4th night of eating it, you're like, yeah, maybe something different's needed, right? And so it was like, we had to keep going. For the team, for us, keep on trying something different, knowing full well that some of them are going to miss. And we're going to get hate for certain decisions. Mechanical, weapons, perks, gobblegums, map design, costs of doors, mechanics, each one of these was potentially a flashpoint. And each one of them had an answer that the community had already kind of maybe predetermined was the right answer. But it wasn't the right answer. It was the safe answer. And we knew that as just well as you guys knew that. Our job is to go, okay, let's try and do something dangerous now in this area, of which sometimes, wow, we found something new. And sometimes like, why did you do that? You shouldn't have done that, and that's the risk that we took. It's like, professional stuntmen, right? A complete control freaks. They want to know everything because they're going to take such a risk. They need to control. We were like, okay, we're going to take risks. We're going to take risks, and we have to try as best as possible to call it. But if it's safe, then it's not a risk, right? So it's got to be.
I mean, it sounds so simple, but it's true.
So it's going to have this moment where a bunch of developers are going to sit around and go, I don't know about this. And nearly every decision that the community loves, there's been a bunch of developers going, I don't know about this.
I don't know.
And we're like, okay, let's give it a go.
And that's a good sign for you. If someone goes, yeah, I'm not sure about this.
Yeah, you've got to, it's, I mean, you don't want to do something that's just blatantly bad, right?
No, sure, but
you've got to be like, I can see real positives to this, and I can see feelings happening here, but this idea and that idea fit together well. It's worth a try. And then other times where you're like, this is not going to get liked in the short term, but might get liked in the midterm.
I feel like you guys did a very good job of making systems to fit maps, unique systems that were intentionally made for a particular map in that experience, where I think it's very easy to get into the routine of making maps to fit systems.
Yeah.
Oh, we have this system that just works. Let's just make maps that fit around that.
I think that's some of my campaign background, because every map in a campaign is a new story, is a new world.
Yeah.
Like there's kind of in campaigns, you have the overall kind of rules of the world, but each map essentially should be a kind of twist on the possibilities of that world. And that's what I tried to do with zombies as well, is that it's not just the wallpaper that's changing. Like what you're doing and what the world is asking of you is changing.
That's important. I have to ask you a question.
Please.
Astute zombie players might notice that in Revelations, there's a whole section where Mob of the Dead appears. And we talked a little bit about Mob before. And it doesn't appear in Chronicles. I assume the reason for that is because you kind of already had ideas of what you were going to do with Blood of the Dead.
Yes.
That's the reason it didn't appear in Chronicles?
Yes. I already had blood being proposed.
Okay.
And so it would have made sense inside there.
But some of it's built in BO3. Did you guys have it like pretty much built in BO3?
No, I don't think we did.
It was just kind of made for that section of Revelations.
I think we were already getting the props built, maybe. So that's maybe where those props came from. But I don't believe blood was ready at that point.
Okay.
But yeah, the motivation was also, it was already going to be dangerous enough doing blood, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because you're going back to a fan-loved map and they're going to change it, and you could never truly go home, right? When you've made something and that moment's existed, right? It's just danger. There's just danger all over it. Especially if you're going to extend and try and tell a different story inside a beloved place, right? It's very, very dangerous. Yeah, that was. I just remember that was the thing that dominated the thoughts about Blood of the Dead, which is like, we are walking into a
landmine here.
Yeah, like it's so dangerous. And I remember the conversation, which was like, what are we going to possibly get out of this? The best you could get out, like, it's all right. Because it's such a beloved map, the first one, that what are you going to say? You're aiming for, it's better than Mob of the Dead. Like, that's not going to happen, right? Unless it's taken to their heart. We're very honest about it. We're like, it's not going to be that. So what are we going to get out of this? Are we really bringing something to the fans? Like, okay, well, there's a narrative thing we can bring to the fans. There is lift that Blood of the Dead does. So
you kind of knew going in that Blood, like I don't know, design wise, wasn't going to be as received as well as Mob for maybe their own like sentimental reasons or whatever. Like you knew that Blood was going to be looked at as like the redheaded stepchild or whatever.
Absolutely.
Compared. Okay.
Yeah.
But you felt it was important enough to still like tell that story that was happening in Blood, that it was worth the.
And to go back to our previous conversation, let's give it a go. Because you shouldn't do it.
Wow.
Right?
Damn. Damn.
Like, if you came to me and said, Jay, I'm remaking Mob of the Dead, I'm like, are you crazy? Like, what? You just got the hole in one, and you want to show off by then firing another ball down the range.
Yeah.
Just to, like, what are you going to do? If you get another hole in one, great. We live for those moments where a map suddenly catches fire and the community loves it. We're like, yay, it's great, right? You get a couple of them. To go back to one you've got and go, let's go again.
Probably not going to happen.
Terrifying.
Now. Yeah, it's like
right. But I love the experience and the journey we had to go on then, because as we're going on it, we're like, we're screwed. You're taking on a fan favorite map. You're going to do new things to it. You're going to be compared. You're going to be compared to the one that they love and they've had. And it's not only loved, it's now grown in their mind into a different thing than what you made back then.
Yeah.
They're not even remembering the thing, unless they're playing it every day. It's now a memory, which means it's even more powerful than the actual thing.
Wow.
And because we were subsequently scared by that, we said, let's do it.
I kind of love that. I love that so much.
That's Zetsubo as well. But it's Garrod as well. You can go into all of them. I mean, I'm not picking out these individual ones. You can go into most of them, and I can tell you what about it was scary to us, or that we were nervous about, or we had trepidation about. All of them did. Voyage, 9, Blood. All of them were like, oh my god, we're doing what? We're going to do what?
But you kind of need that edge to.
Yeah, Derizen. I told the story on that previous stream, but Derizen was going to have a little bit more edge on it, and because Shadows of Evil, when I was on Comic-Con, because I got crickets on the stage when I showed the video for it, I got off and got on the phone and went, make it simple. Let's go. We gotta go simple. We were having a conversation about it because we were like, we've gone too far with Shadows. We've because I'm all about the adventure, but I'm also in the business of making
something people want to play.
Yeah, you want to make a hit game, right?
Yeah,
keeps everyone happy and
Jason Blundell, Death by Misadventure.
Exactly. And I was like, oh god, we've gone too far. Because my worry would be that if I get 1-2 and I miss 1-2, I could topple the thing, right? So it's like Derizen.
That's so crazy.
Calm
too,
down,
because
Derizen.
people look at Shadows and Derizen, like that's like the golden run for them, right? And you were panicking.
That decision was made walking off the Comic-Con stage.
What kind of edge are we talking about that was part of Derizen that?
Well, the easiest way for me to say it without telling you the answer is it's just about the complexity of the steps. We could have very easily have made it a lot more involved and slightly more convoluted.
For like bow upgrades or just the main Easter egg, like
Just
all
the
of it.
whole thing. Yeah. There was, yeah, we could have gone a lot further than that. I think the general statement was, let's calm it down because Shadows, which was phenomenal map.
Sure, it's my favorite of all time, by the way.
It was like, well, I think we proved our point. I think we proved our point that we can make a massively complex one. Let's just take it nice and easy. And then Zetsubo, it's like, okay, we're all good now. Go fucking crazy again. Go crazy again, right? And then we're like, we've got to get the fans back. Goro Krovi. So we gotta put the PPSH back. A little bit. Put the PPSH back in. Right. We got them back. Excellent. Revelations. Okay, we can just finish them with Revelations then. So it was like, whoa. And so every other one was either, let's try and do something crazy, and then, we lost them. Okay, shh, it's okay.
But
it's still
give
zombies.
them the pacifier, the
PPSH. You can come
Calm
back.
down.
Yeah.
Jason said all this stuff, but there's mechs and dragons in Chronicles. He's like, yeah, like this.
Guys, it's really normal.
Yeah,
Also,
exactly.
there are Russian mechs. It's like
By the time, this was the other thing as well. By the time, Craig and I had gone through and we've told so many crazy stories to our team, they did not react at all as we'd go in there and say, okay, we got, Panzer Soldat, so we got this, dragons, or we'd emotionally probably hurt them so much that they're like, yeah, okay, dragon. Oh, okay, 1,000-foot robot.
Here he goes.
Yeah, whatever. So this is when the roof blows off and then goes in reverse. Okay, sure. They just weren't phased by anything anymore, and so I would be lying if I didn't want to try and shock them with stuff.
Yeah.
I'm just getting nothing. They're like, yeah, that's okay. That's great. It's a great idea. That I was hoping you'd be more upset by that, but okay.
Well, speaking of other maps that didn't make it into Chronicles, one I've just always personally wondered a lot about was Call of the Dead.
Yeah.
And that, every BO1 map except Call of the Dead is in Chronicles. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm right on that? Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
I have one answer that jumps to mind. It's not particularly sexy though.
Anything.
The probably the answer why it probably didn't go high on my list would be the licensing issue
With George Romero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that could have been solved. But we were working in a certain kind of time frame, and I know that I didn't want to get into a whole conversation about the licensing of that and other stuff, and that's probably the reason.
But otherwise, like besides that hurdle, you would have been interested in doing Call
totally.
of the Dead.
Great map.
Yeah.
Great map.
And I imagine at the time that like Togder Toten being on, because it is that map kind of, but George Romero doesn't appear other than his glasses on the table.
Yeah.
So was there ever a thought of like we could do Call of the Dead just without George Romero?
No, because that would then gone against what I'd said for the pack spirit overall.
Yeah. Okay.
Right, which is me trying to be a faithful selection of, if you've never played the game before, these are the maps that lead you into the Black Ops 3 run, right?
Yeah.
So if I started making changes to that one, I can't say that anymore.
Then that opens a can of worms of like, yeah.
Well, because as soon as I take him out, I can't just take him out and go, why? Because of licensing reasons. Like, that's just terrible, right? So I would have turned around and gone, right.
Sure, gamers would be very reasonable.
Yeah, I'm sure. So I'm like, yes, there's no understanding when I have Hollywood talent that has to turn up later. If you know, you know. I would have had to have like told a different story, because I wouldn't just pull it out and go, why?
Because it doesn't work the same without that.
Like that. We talk about what's the story focus, right? The Pack-a-Punch machine or the mystery box, the magic box, right? These things are part of the story of what the gang is doing to get somewhere, to get to a certain point in time. Well, Romero is absolutely the center point of that story. So if you take him out, I'd have to then tell a new story, right?
Which is kind of what you did with like Togder Toten.
Yes.
Where it's like, the location is there, but it's a totally different
100%.
layout, different story.
Yep, different geo. I've built, we've got the lab up there,
Yep.
right, doing all the other stuff. I didn't want to do any of those in
Chronicles, because that
Chronicles.
wasn't the point.
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the stuff that you guys spot, of the, but you did this, Jay, you did that. Like these are all minor things in terms of the overall. But as you see, Tag, I'm building geo. I'm changing who's in the lighthouse. I'm doing a totally different story, and that's kind of what I thought I'd have to do if I pulled George out.
I think a lot of people also thought that about Mob, where it's like, I mean, you can't really get those celebrities again, assuming it was like a faithful remaster.
Sure.
It's like getting them back. I mean, like, this
could.
is just like a random question, but I'm like,
Yeah.
could you technically just use the lines that were already recorded from BO2 in that?
You
Like,
can. I mean, this is getting to the business side of it, but
Yeah.
you do pay for royalty, for another usage of it.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
again, that's no problem.
Sure.
But again, because I had blood coming, I was like, I don't want to do that. And then the other, the Romero one, I was like, well, and I don't want to touch that because like that's his map at that point in time.
Yeah.
And when we did Tag later on, it's like it's a whole different story, a whole different idea, it's a different point in time. I would never want to go back and fiddle with Call of the Dead. Like that's a great map, and that's what makes it great.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd want to do a faithful recreation potentially, right?
Okay.
But
That's a perfect segue into the other thing I wanted to ask you.
yeah,
Speaking of other maps that are not in Chronicles, is I think the big obvious one are to a lot of people is Transit.
sure.
And I think you've spoken a little bit about this before, like one that I think you couldn't help yourself and would want to pick apart and do different things.
Yeah.
So
Well, if the creator does, which I know he does,
yeah,
I absolutely would. Yeah. Yeah.
and I assume you did that to some extent.
No.
No. Interesting. For Chronicles.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not for crime.
That was never like the intention to be there.
I mean, again, same type of thing. I would have wanted to have touched that, like significantly.
And so that in and of itself just made it automatic no.
Yeah.
Is the same true for like Die Rise?
No, it wouldn't have been no. I would have done a more faithful recreation of that. I felt like that was, we talked about different maps that push people in different ways. That's one of those maps. That's a very divisive map in terms of, it punishes very, very quickly. And by the way, I love that. I love the fact that we have different flavors of maps that ask different things of you.
Speaking of, I have a funny story about Die Rise. Speaking of punishing, by the way, the day Die Rise came out, I remember clear as day. I was in school and I had a detention that day, so I was literally punished after school. And I walked to my friend's house because he had an Xbox and they got the DLC first. And then I go and play Die Rise and get smoked.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm having a great day.
Yeah. And the thing, I loved, I wish at times I had more confidence because, that's taking a risk. That's not an accident. That's absolutely understood. Mm-hmm. Making maps that provoke the player and have serious consequences. You got to remember, for as designers or as game creators, we get to see it played hundreds and hundreds of times.
Yeah.
There's nothing that we want more is to see people happy, right? And if you make a map that its job is to hurt people, you see people throwing the controller down and getting frustrated, and you've got to go, yep, that sounds great. Right?
Send it.
No one wants that. We're all like, I wish they got further, or are they enjoying themselves? And so you're putting things into maps that are supposed to be friction against the player, while at the same time you want the player to be happy all the time. So it's a little bit tricky.
Was Die Rise ever a consideration for Chronicles?
No, because I would have dismissed it as being too much one of those type of maps. And if I'm trying to make a map pack for people who may be coming into zombies for the first time and haven't experienced that
was too out there.
That was too out, in my opinion. That was too. It was too
interesting.
It was too punishing a map in that way.
Wow.
My opinion. My opinion.
I think I would think that a lot of people believe the reason that Transit, Die Rise, and Buried didn't appear in Chronicles was because they were like their own run of maps, like under different creative direction and stuff. And it's like, That's not the reason at all?
Nope.
Wow. Okay, so then what about Buried?
Why Buried?
Well, the one before you,
Yeah.
we did, other than BO2, we did see Buried in Blackout, like
Right.
in the battle royale that you guys did in BO4.
Sure.
There was a whole section. It was like, oh, so it's just like here. It was most of Buried,
Okay.
and just looking at that, everybody drew the conclusion that like, oh, this was maybe a Chronicles thing or whatever. No,
Nope.
not even a consideration
Nope.
for different reasons than Transit or Die Rise. Because Buried, I think, is a very
Barry's got no reason to, if I think about it right now, if I imagine, again, I don't remember the conversation precisely,
Yeah.
but if I rewind back, is there any reason on top of my head that Barry wouldn't be on the list? There's no reason why it couldn't be on the list. I think the reason why it's not on the list is the other ones I felt more passionate about getting onto the pack, and at some point I was like, we've got 8 now. And I'm sure if someone will say, well, you should have dropped that one and done this one. Yeah, everybody in the studio had a different opinion about which ones should and shouldn't be done. Wow. The ones that like a Transit or a Call of the Dead, like I can see right away, like I've got reasons why I wouldn't take them on in that time period with what we were trying to do as the mission. Because that was the other thing as well. We're going to come out and release another DLC. Obviously, there's a business reason behind this, right? But we're wanting to make it for a community. How do we make sure that we're come across the right way about what this actually is? Because it was supposed to be for the fans, but we have to look at it and go, yeah, but cynically you could look at it and say, oh, it's just another money grab. So that was another kind of consideration, which is let's make sure everything we're doing is a pack that feels welcoming and feels approachable.
Okay, that's interesting. I've always felt Buried was one of those maps that is very not, I wouldn't say particularly like welcoming, but it is like it's a map that you can very easily feel like you.
It's a fun map. It's
just fun.
It's a fun, friendly map. I find like
it's not oppressive as much.
No, and it's not trying to scare the pants off you, and it's not trying to punish you mechanically. Although it's got a lot of depth in there. A lot of
absolutely.
In there. Yeah. I think again, just sitting here now, the only reason would have been that the slots were taken on other ones that I felt more passionate. Like that has to be in the starter set. Like that's the.
Buried had so many weird mechanics in the map, like all the buildables and I know BO3 played a lot with buildables too, but Buried had like the head chopper. It had the subsonic resonator, whatever that thing was, and I'm like, I don't know how those would even like function in BO3. It's hard for me to imagine all those little weird buried things in the context of BO3, or even like the Easter egg. It's so, to this day, I'm not even sure if people really know how everything works.
Right.
Like they might pretend they do, but I'm not entirely sure people have actually like, this is precisely how the step works. And with BO3, people have it down to like a science now. I mean, you watch the speedrun stuff, it's like, it's crazy.
It's incredible.
The same is not true for Buried. Like it just feels still, even now, like quite obscure.
Yes.
And I'm like, I can't even, it's hard for me to like perceive playing that experience in BO3, a game that was a little more, not ironed out, but it was like, it felt a little more sophisticated and that you could get a handle on it more.
Yeah, I mean, again, it would have, it would have had to gone through the Black Ops 3 filter of like, how do you make it congruent with everything else that we're doing?
Yeah.
But I don't remember any conversation about it apart from, I remember us feeling passionate about the other maps and then just saying, okay, that's it. Because we've done 8.
Yeah.
It was like, there's only so many we can do.
I mean, it's a big map pack.
Yep.
And again, the fact that there is what there is a miracle too. And it's like easy for, gamers to sit back and say, well, why isn't there Call of the Dead? But
well, it was always going to be that. We sat there and said, no matter what we decide, they're always going to say, what about the other map?
Yeah.
8 was as much as we could do.
It's a good number. It's a good number to me. And I do like that because there is no mob, obviously that was becoming Blood of the Dead. I do like that there is a BO2 map in there you know, and you put like your baby in their Origins.
Yeah.
And I think about like the differences in like the gameplay between BO2 and BO3 Origins, and I find it really interesting because like BO3 has such a different like movement system.
Yep.
And part of the map hazard or intentional like pathways to get over, it was the mud. And
Yep.
BO2, the movement is more deliberate. It's kind of a little slower, and the way that you can interact with that in the new movement system in BO3 was really interesting. There's so many little things and even kind of coming down to what you chose to like patch and not patch about Origins.
Yep.
Like the staff skip and all that. Did you guys have conversations about like, Origins wasn't even supposed to be like soloable.
Yes.
And then just people figured out that you can do it.
Yes.
But that wasn't your intention.
Nope.
But I assume you were ultimately okay with that when people figured out how to do it solo?
Yeah.
Did you know people figured out how to do transit solo recently?
No, he soloed those.
Oh, did
I saw
he?
that one,
Yeah.
Because the guy was throwing the EMP.
That was
like,
not.
No, that was crazy. That was absolutely crazy. Yeah. No, here's the thing. I love those things. I mean, I'd not been really exposed to it until these guys showed me these things. But what I normally see is I get a report showing me all the bugs and all the kind of things and all the exploits. And we've got like a whiteboard and we're chasing the double A's down. You're trying to get rid of all the crash bugs and all this kind of stuff. And your senior producer or your leads or your directors are making calls about, okay, they've got to fix this, we've got to fix this. And part of my job is to be sitting there going, yeah, we should leave that alone. We should leave that alone. Because they want to fix everything. And if they fix everything, they will continue to break the game forever as well.
Sure.
But we always used to try and have some sort of discipline about, are we fixing something because it's not perfect? Are we fixing it? Are we killing their fun? Are we fixing it? Why are we fixing this? Would be a conversation specifically about zombies. On campaign, on the most part, you want to kind of tidy everything up as much as you can. But on zombies, we kept on thinking, every time we fix something, we're breaking something. And are they unhappy with it or not?
The design of Origins, I could be here for a while and talk about this, but I really like games and specifically maps that I like games that don't really make you do anything, but everything that you choose to do is there's something about the voluntary approach that I'm gonna do this and not because the game is making me do it that feels way better.
Yep.
And I feel like Origins is maybe the textbook example of that.
Nice.
Other than Samantha yelling at you to build the staffs.
That was a conversation which was like how much conversation Samantha is having, right? And we were like, okay, we want to do more dialogue because we haven't done something like this before. And then, but she's now talking all the time, and so the conversation is after the 10th playthrough, you're going to want to kill her, right? But we were like, we've not tried something like this before, so let's try it. I think we landed a touch over the line.
In terms of asking you too much to do
density
things?
Density of lines. I actually thought we went a bit too far.
Okay.
Just a touch over the line. Mechanically, I actually I thought Origins was the right amount of crazy. Mob was a little bit more kind of structured and a kind of simpler route. Origins kind of goes wider, faster, and I liked that we had several steps that were quite challenging in there. I didn't want Origins to feel like Mob, like it needed to feel like if you were drawing it, I'll say something funny now. Everyone can scratch their head. Mob's like a square, and Origins is like a rectangle. In terms of Mob, there's a point where it's got like a home cooking feel to it. Like when you're doing the Mob steps, it's grandma's apple pie. It's like, go and get that, go and do that, go and do that, get on the plane, throw the tomahawk off the back so you watch it fly after you. Go over there, go and do your pack-a-punch, right?
Yeah.
Start again. There's a kind of square kind of I kind of get it. It's kind of there, right? Mob. Once you've kind of played it a couple of times. Origins, no matter if you've played it 3 times or 10 times, 20 times, whatever,
It never gets cozy.
it's got this long feeling to it that is, it's like looking up that hill that you've climbed 100 times, but you still don't want to climb it this time. It's just got a kind of different shape to it. And I like that. I wanted it to feel like a journey, regardless of how many times you've done it.
Well, one of the big differences that you guys made in Horizon versus Origins was that, like, yeah, again, you didn't intend for it to be soloed, but you have to build all the staffs in solo to still do the Easter egg, where in DE, you only have to build 1 bow.
Yes.
Now, was that like because you realized
Make it simpler.
Hey,
We're
it is.
gonna
Look at you.
we're getting shadows of evil. We're gonna get killed. Make it simple.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Don't do any like. Okay, we've pissed them off enough. Make it simpler.
Oh my God.
Like we just need a safe one.
Wow.
Boy, we were happy, weren't we?
Yeah, we were very happy.
Yeah, it was. We needed a safe one
That's crazy.
because I thought Shadows was going to absolutely tank.
I always talk about like Shadows that we grew into that map. Everyone always goes, "Oh, Shadows of Evil aged so well," and I'm like, "Well, I get what you're saying, but I don't think it's the right way to frame it. I think like we grew as Zombies players throughout the year and the seasons and so on, that like we developed enough to where we could come back to that map and I don't know, it feels like a martial arts teacher where, you know, you get your ass whooped, like, and then you go and you spar a little bit, and you come back and you're a little more, you know, in the groove and you can kind of hang. But Shadows was always what it was. It's just we learned through other experiences and we came back and learned how to hang a little bit more.
It's awesome. It's the kind of thing I would dream of, right? You can't rely on, but
Sure.
you dream of.
Trust me. Have I ever steered you wrong before?
You're telling me if I wait long enough, even the maps they don't like, they'll like if I can.
Yes.
Well, you
If I
know
can,
what?
if I can,
Really annoying.
if I can have
listen.
the patience.
Yeah, no, I mean, that is, listen, I really like,
Yes.
my thing is I love covering games from years past and looking back at them in a different lens and stuff. And I think that there's just, I don't know what it is, but it's just something that humans do, is that when, after time passes, regardless of the thing, we go, you know what, that wasn't that bad.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
Yeah.
and that's what's happening right now with, you know, like a lot of like stuff that was very controversial in its moment, but people are looking back going, you know, it wasn't that bad. I don't know where that comes from. I don't know what it is, but it's fascinating.
I mean, it's lovely. It's also something that has helped me with my, you know, going through Zombies, you know, it helped me with my world outlook as well. Because it's, you know, as game developers, we have to have delayed gratification, because it'll be like 3 years before we find out what people think of what we're doing, right? But going through the zombie experience for me really did teach me about being comfortable with what decisions I'd made and what we'd made as a group, and then move on from there. You know, I was the developer when I made my first game, sitting there pressing F5 continuously, waiting for Metacritic to update so I can see did they like me? Did they like the game I made, right? And then, you know, fast forward, it's just, you go, you know what? It'll be what it'll be. That probably took me my career to be able to do that.
That's hard to do. That's hard to do.
Yep.
Because you want to look.
Because you love it, and you love the team, and you love the story you're telling, and you love the mechanics that you worked out, and all the, you know, the push and pull that's made this thing on the screen. And then go, and we're done. Next one.
When I look at like the end of so like when I'm looking here at the screen and I see Revelations, and then I think back to like Origins and BO2, I've always had this thought that, like, and you can tell me what you think about this, that the DLC 4 of each game was kind of like a testing bed for what the next game ultimately ended up being. Because I really think that like Moon and BO1 was kind of like the baby stages of a BO2 map. It was a little more quest focused, right? And you have like these little like buildable things, like they're like the hacker and so on, and you can start interacting. It just felt a little BO2 to me, or at least the concept of that. And then I always felt like Origins, with its like heavy quest focus, and you have like this golden path and a real like place to go, that feels very BO3.
Yes. I'm cheating slightly on that one, on that example. So to my knowledge, so there was no structured thing in the past, right? Moon wasn't really the setup for that. I understand how you're drawing the line, but it wasn't. Now, my one, I'm cheating a little bit because Origins was the premise cast.
Yeah.
So it really kind of was.
It kind of was a BO3
It kind of was the beginning of that, because that was the art being set up. But you know, what was the conversation I had at the end of Origins? I think I said was the conversation I had at the end of, and I was like,
my God.
Oh
Oh my God.
I may want that one out.
I was looking for a statement at the end, right? I talked about I wanted DLC 4 to kind of break the curve, which normally happens. It's normally the lowest selling DLC, and I wanted it to be the highest. And I knew that, you know, from a narrative point of view, that we wanted to give a new dimension to the cast rather than you know, they've been playing the stereotypes and the jokes, and that's great. But I knew that we would, with some of the stories we wanted to tell, or the story we wanted to tell, like that would wear thin very quickly. And so I needed the premise cast. I needed a new cast. Well, I needed to, and that, by the way, that was, you know, we talk about risks. That's that was such a big. I could have the community turn to me and say, "What the F are you doing with our cast that we love?"
Yeah.
And you're gonna twist and do this with it. That's why the Origins cutscene I obsessed about.
The original intro. Yeah.
I absolutely obsessed about, because I'm like, I get one chance that the audience may accept this, and it's gonna be off the Origins intro cutscene.
It's crazy you say that now, because everybody now is like, yeah, of course it's premise. Yeah, like, we love him, you know.
Yeah.
But I remember when that trailer came out, and I was like, huh?
Yeah, I was like, I get one go, because if they don't behave in a certain way, if they're not cool, you're not finishing that and going, that's my guys, even though we just changed everything, right?
Yeah.
So every character has to be the best version of themselves. Tank has to be amazing, right?
Yeah.
Nikolai has to be amazing. Takeo, who's the most disliked character of the group, has to have an amazing intro, right? Richtofen is the only one that I'm actually safe with.
Because you don't have to do the legwork to...
Because of his character being dark, right?
Yeah.
You have to do the least with him. Because he's just evil, right? He's just off. He's just, you know, and if you show him in a slightly vulnerable situation with the blood in his hands, with, you know, after taking Max's brain out, no one's going to know that, but they're going to see this kind of, you know, not being evil, and like looking kind of bewildered sort of thing, and then drop the roll button at the end. That was like, okay, that'll work. It's either going to work or not work, and we're going to find out very, very quickly. But that was everybody holding hands, going, we're either going to be okay or we're all dead. That's what Origins was.
Wow. He just drops these bombs sometimes. That's
At least you can tell people. He normally does this and then runs away from it. He's like, haha, enjoy!
This wasn't how it was supposed to go. We were supposed to secure the package and be in and out clean.
Yeah, and the last, it's not really Chronicles related, but I specifically look at Revelations and its kind of design, and I have to imagine that map, what it is right now, was probably not the original ideas you guys had for it. exactly. I think, that's probably there's a lot of like cut content and things that kind of exist in like the code of the game that
there's always
insinuate that it could have been a little different, but
no, every map that you see was a different map originally. So cut content being found is normal. I would be shocked if you didn't find it, if you're going through stuff. Rev was always going to be Rev in terms of the idea of it and the structure of it. We're not talking about the layout of it. We're talking about the concept of it.
Okay.
It was always that. Were there different ideas for maps that would be in there and different kind of mechanics? Sure, absolutely. But the general shape of it, of the idea of it, was true from the beginning. Yeah.
I always felt like it kind of played, that idea I was talking about. I always felt like Revelations was kind of the blueprints of a BO4 map, because Revelations was playing with the idea that there was like a lot of wonder weapons, the Apothicon Servant, Thundergun, Little Arnie's, the Ragnaroks, like it kind of got to that point where it felt like were a BO4 map where it was particularly obscure Easter eggs and a lot of like power weapons as well.
Where I'd looked at Revelations to me was a circus potluck. Those kind of buckets where you put your hand in and you get something out. That's what I wanted. It was like the idea that it was everything kind of mushed together, and we'd never done anything like that. And so I was like, well, how does that feel? How does that feel if we can, again, those Lego pieces, can we put these levels together in some interesting way that then flows in a new way, but kind of screws with people's heads because they'll recognize that bit of that level, but that's not the way to play it now, right?
It's not as you remember exactly.
Yeah. So that's what the concept was. But again, it was the safe, not safe, safe, not safe model, right?
So I think that a lot of people would describe BO3 as like a roller coaster, like, and that's Was there ever a chicken weapon in Revelations?
There should have been.
All I hear about is this damn chicken.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, and there's, the chicken coop in the spawn room, and it seems very, I'm going to do a thing. It's like...
Well, I do love chickens. That's going to get quoted now.
Well, I do love chicken. Chocolate, you have no fucking idea. You don't have a clue. Maybe someday.
Were the bows ever in Revelations? Like the Horizon Rock bows? And the reason I asked that is because I had a guy that would literally email me every day for an entire year. I kid you not. He emailed me every day, and he would like post these huge like schizo posts about why he thinks the bows are in the game. And I'm like, he's like, dude, trust me, just keep looking. And I had to try to tell him like, bro, like I'm, people have like dug through. I'm pretty sure the bows are not in the game. Like, you can, and he's every day he emailed me. So for that guy's sake, were the bows ever supposed to be in Rev? Because like you have that bit of Horizon Rock in there.
Yep.
And I wonder if that was ever like a consideration.
I don't think I want to say anything about that one.
All right. I mean, I'll take that.
Who am I to rain on some guy's parade out there?
He's still looking to this day.
I told you. He wouldn't confirm it.
Yeah. But the when I'm thinking about wonder weapons, the Apothicon Servant was in that map, and it was upgradable.
Yes.
It was upgradable in Shadows of Evil until it wasn't.
It was not upgradable in the released Shadows of Evil.
Nothing's changed in 10 years.
Right.
I still remember my media training.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Sir,
thank you so much.
Absolute
That was
pleasure.
so much fun.
Thank you.
Getting to sit down with Jason Blundell one-on-one and just chat about zombies for a couple hours was something I never saw myself ever doing, but it was an incredible opportunity for me, and I hope you guys enjoyed watching this as much fun as I had making this. It was just awesome to sit down with him and talk, and you can feel the passion radiating off of everything, and I'm absolutely interested in what he's working in next, which is why I think you guys should go follow Magic Fractal. That is where you're going to want to be if there's any updates about Jason's next project. I'm sure you'll find it there. there. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. This is a very special video for me, and I really hope you guys enjoyed. Before you go, don't forget to check out War Thunder for free today. New and returning PC and console players will get the rewards using the links in my description down below. And thank you again, War Thunder, for sponsoring the video.